Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Matt Finney.
And this is the Bad News Network. As a show that has been shadow banned on Facebook already, we should probably cover the hottest story that should surprise no one and that will likely get us more shadow banned than we are already. The Facebook scandal. Frances Haugen came out as a whistleblower this week saying that she saw a massive conflict of interest between what is good for mankind and what is good for Facebook. And wait for it, Facebook generally chose what was good for Facebook over what was good for mankind. I, for one, cannot believe it. I thought for sure the organization that has done very little to stop Russian and Chinese influence on American elections while simultaneously making it hard for middle-of-the-road shows like us to reach any audience at all would choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Haugen stole tens of thousands of documents from the company that show that Facebook is lying about having made any progress towards controlling hate speech or negative comments. The documents show that Facebook prioritizes interaction over the truth and that hateful rhetoric gets way more engagement than civil conversation. I think we all knew that already. Truth be told, she comes at this from a left-leaning standpoint. Reading through her comments, she essentially joined Facebook to defeat the Trump machine by calling to task his many half-truths or outright lies. After the election, when Facebook shut down the organization they stood up to essentially fight Trump, she was upset. She blames the January 6th insurrection, for example, on Facebook. Because of her political leaning, it's easy to dismiss her. But while her politics clearly come into play in her decision-making, the core issue remains. Facebook profits off of hateful interactions. Does this surprise anyone? Moderate voices do not cut through the noise. Only the extreme ones do. This gives the illusion that most Americans are in fact extreme. I say this all the time. Studies show that Americans from both parties essentially agree on 84 to 88% of all policies. We are the wealthiest we've ever been with the most opportunities. Yet a bunch of people think that we're on the brink of a civil war or that our problems are unsolvable and that there's no way to work with the other side, whatever that means. You're letting the system play you. Facebook gets paid off of hate. Haugen herself claims Zuckerberg is a good person, and that's not his intent, but yet the company needs to hit profit numbers, and decisions are made to hit those numbers, which involves hateful speech. A comment claiming we need to create two Americas from some clown gets a lot more interaction than one that says, hey, life isn't that bad, and we just need to work together on some stuff, and life will be even better. A lot more. And so that's what you see over and over and over again. And if you see something enough, no matter how smart you are, you start to believe it. And there are people who get paid to amplify it. And foreign governments are investing in those amplifications. Because a divided USA is a beatable USA. And this brings us back to the question people have been asking for some time. With 60% of the world using Facebook as their primary means of communication and interaction, can Facebook be trusted to regulate itself? Can it be a fair arbiter of discourse? Maybe not.
News of fiction blending with reality made headlines this week as it was announced that Captain Kirk will officially be going to space. 90-year-old William Shatner, who is known the world around for his role playing Captain Kirk on Star Trek and for starring in hit movies such as Range 15, is going to space thanks to Bezos and the Blue Origin team. The flight will last 11 minutes, but Shatner expressed his excitement just to get the f*** away from Earth even for a moment. We at BNN are stoked for Mr. Shatner and wish him the utmost success as he embarks on this enterprise. May you continue to live long and prosper.
It looks like New Zealand is finally going to ease up on COVID restrictions. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern was about to die on the quarantine lockdown hill, which is ironically the same hill two small men had to climb up to and throw a ring into hellfire to rid the world of evil. This week, Prime Minister Ardern announced plans to ease COVID restrictions, saying people will soon be able to visit their loved ones and even go to the beach. They also will no longer have to raise their hands and ask if they can go to the bathroom. They can just go. From the beginning of the pandemic, New Zealand had some of the more intense and regulated lockdown restrictions on the planet. It seemed like they were trying to win a who has the least amount of positive COVID test contest, while most of us were just trying to survive. The strategy they actually implemented was called COVID-0. Auckland has been under a 7-week lockdown due to a spike in COVID cases, and Jacinda came out Monday and pretty much said, you know what? I don't think this is helping. It seems like she might have realized COVID is going to be here for a while, and that you can't just keep people quarantined in the Shire forever.
There's a special place in hell for pedophiles. I thought that was probably the deepest, hottest, scariest part of hell, but apparently there's a place in hell reserved for pedophiles who also collect millions of dollars worth of Nazi memorabilia. And yes, at least one of these people exists. Police in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil were going to arrest a man who had been seen talking to children in his apartment complex and trying to convince them to come home to his apartment. That. When police arrived to his home, they found a huge collection of old Nazi uniforms, paintings, and photographs. That also. Police have not released the identity of the man, but said his family got wealthy through investing, and he has used his inheritance to buy all the Nazi stuff, which apparently can get pretty pricey. The starting price for a high-ranking Nazi military uniform can be around $300,000. Along with being a pervert, this guy was a shithead for a multitude of reasons. He is also a Holocaust denier who says he goes out and hunts homosexuals. Looks like a lot of people will be safer now that this douche is in jail. Along with the outfits and paintings, this guy also had a nice stash of World War II weapons, which landed him an illegal weapons charge. Police knew they would be taking this man in for charges of pedophilia, but finding all the guns is something they did not see coming.
The infamous serial killer known as the Zodiac Killer was believed to be identified by a cold case task force known as the Casebreakers. I sure could have picked a cooler name, but it gets right to the point, so, I guess I get it. The Zodiac Killer tormented the northern part of California and even wrote messages in the newspaper and to police about the crimes he planned on committing. He used hidden messages and ciphers in his letters that police at the time weren't able to figure out. Enter the Casebreakers. El Breakers de Quesos. No, that's cheese. The Casebreakers are a group of around 40 retired police, military veterans, and forensic scientists who now use their time to help solve cold cases. On Wednesday, they identified the Zodiac Killer as Gary Francis Post, which makes sense because no one with a middle name like Francis should ever be trusted. The team was able to decipher old letters that were sent by the Zodiac and also compared pictures to Post to drawings of the Zodiac, which is what brought them to their conclusion. Even though they are happy with their discovery, the FBI and the police are telling everyone to calm their tits. The biggest issue the authorities have against the Casebreakers is that the evidence that they gathered is fairly circumstantial. One of their biggest clues was a sketch that had the same forehead lines as Post did in a picture. That does seem like a bit of a stretch, maybe even a sketchy decision. I'm guessing the FBI wants credit for solving a spree of murders they've been trying to figure out for 60 years, and the Casebreakers might just want the $50,000 reward for information about the Zodiac that was announced this year. There is one person who definitely thinks Post was the Zodiac Killer, and that's his former neighbor. When asked why she thought he was the killer, she said it was because he never brought his trash down to the street and was always playing that loud rap music. I don't think we need any other reason.
There's never a dull day on the global front. Taiwan's foreign minister has been vocal this week of an impending war with China. He has asked Australia to step up intelligence sharing and has sought to strengthen ties between Taiwan, Australia, the US, India, and Japan. China has been flying sorties into Taiwan airspace for months without excuse, prompting Taiwan to scramble fighters. While world leaders have hemmed, harumphed, and wagged a candy-ass diplomatic finger towards China, Taiwan's foreign minister, Joseph Wu, has put China on blast. Wu has openly been discussing plans to a counter-invasion, which is a distinct possibility. If the world was itching for another world war, this could be the catalyst. It kind of depends on China now. It's no secret that they want Taiwan, all the surrounding islands, and basically the whole world under Chinese control. We've seen time and time again that they're willing to continually push the line and attempt to redraw it like nothing happened. Japan has been upping its forces and has stated that they will be willing to defend their island territories against Chinese encroachment. Australia seems to be stepping up to the plate as well. The ball is a little bit in the US court as we just pulled out of a 20-year war in Afghanistan and are immediately staring down the barrel of a conflict surrounding Taiwan. Frankly speaking, everyone is sick of Chinese shit. At some point it has to come to an impasse. What that will be, we don't know yet. Strategists have surmised that China might not want to invade Taiwan, but instead will set up a blockade. This could be problematic for Taiwan, as the Allies would probably balk at attacking a blockade, and Taiwan would suffer. For now, one thing remains as certain as the day it was said in Hong Kong. Don't trust China. China is a-ho.
I'll take countries responsible for the most cyber attacks of last year for 1,000, Alex. I mean, Ken or the chick from the Big Bang Theory or whoever. If you guessed who is Russia, you just won yourself the daily double. Is anyone surprised? Russia's always the bad guys. Team of highly trained terrorists taking over President Harrison Ford's plane, Russians. Giant dude who killed Rocky's best friend, Russian. A bunch of alcoholics trying to beat us at hockey, Russians. It's always Russia. According to Microsoft, Russia has been behind 58% of the cyber attacks that went on across the world over the last year. Of course, the biggest target of these hackers' lists have been government agencies and think tanks in the United States. You guys just hate us because you ain't us. Ukraine and Britain were both also high on the list of Russian attacks, but we are way cooler, so we were first. State-backed hacking is now a new thing in Russia and is generally touted upon by its own government. But that's because state-backed hacking serves a different purpose with the goal to get information, stop attacks, or gain strategic advantage. Where the goal of ransomware hacking is to up and get paid, like the Colonial Pipeline hack that shut down fuel distribution throughout the East Coast of the United States over the last year. The US is used to taking a whooping in cybersecurity as we are the highest attacked country, with 3 times the amount of attacks as the country in second. But we all know if you ain't first, you're last. Suck it, rest of the world. Currently, Microsoft has their eye on one of the most efficient hacking groups in the world called Cozy Bear. I'm going to assume that is code for something because the most elite hacker groups in the world should probably have a more badass name. They were behind the SolarWinds hack, which allowed them to access 80% of the email accounts used by US attorneys in New York, probably all of which were just talking shit about President Trump.
This week, Timberview High School in Arlington, Texas was the victim of a school shooting that left 4 people injured with no deaths. Detectives arrested 18-year-old Timothy Simpkins after a brief manhunt that ended with Simpkins turning himself in without incident. The first shots were heard around 9 a.m. on the second floor of the school. Apparently, there is video footage of Simpkins getting in an altercation with one of the victims. A teacher broke up the fight. Simpkins then pulled a gun, I'm assuming a pistol, from his backpack and opened fire. Of the injured parties, 3 were hospitalized. 1, a 15-year-old boy, was declared in critical condition, and all are expected to survive. Simpkins is being charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He is already free on bail. The family of Simpkins has been defending him, saying that he was defending himself from being bullied and robbed continually. They have stated that the media should recorrect their narrative, saying that this wasn't a standard issue school shooting. They did not condone what he did, but have defended his motives vigorously. Those are the facts of the situation that are available to us right now. As for my opinion, this kid, bullied or not, should be in jail for pulling a gun and opening fire in a classroom. If Timothy Simpkins was in fact being bullied and robbed, and the parents knew about this, and the solution that Simpkins was led to believe was appropriate was to pull a gun and fire it in a classroom, the parents should be facing scrutinizing questions as well. It is not yet known how Simpkins obtained the firearm. It's not yet known if he was in fact bullied. But if his parents knew ahead of time, maybe consider putting the kid in boxing programs or wrestling, or at least just talk to him. At some point, this kid figured that a gun was the solution, and that ain't it. It smells like the parents are as much to blame for his reaction as Timothy Simpkins is. Normally, we don't use the names of shooters in BNN, but I'm using Timothy Simpkins as an example. Don't be a Timothy Simpkins, and don't be a bully. If you're a young man feeling the urge to scrap, there are numerous gyms, clubs, and dojos that will not only oblige you, but can teach you how to use that urge productively, and for the betterment of your life and the lives of people around you.
And finally, in Florida Man news, the duality of Florida Man cannot be stopped. There's no time for getting a regular job, paying taxes, or being a valued member of society. You have Florida shit to do. Damian Barrett, a tax preparer from Florida, decided a great way to make some extra cash would be to file over 700 tax returns in 4 years so he could take in almost $250,000. Cha-ching! Barrett ran 2 tax preparation companies in Florida. One of these companies was totally legit. The other, not so much. Barrett used his clients' information, including social security numbers, to file false tax documentation to get paid. Now, Barrett clearly isn't your traditional Florida man. He has all his teeth, doesn't do meth, that we know of, and clearly had an okay job from the start. But the water in Florida can turn a man into a fickle beast. This crime, however, did require a little more finesse than most crimes committed in Florida. It took a little more planning and thinking, and absolutely no live fish being distributed from baskets. He couldn't just think like everyone in Florida, otherwise he would have just got drunk and beat the shit out of his neighbor with a plunger. Barrett had to be sophisticated. After practicing tax preparation for a while, he saw a hole in the system and was able to exploit it, big time. In court, Barrett told the prosecution, "I found a flaw in the system and I took advantage of it. Isn't this America anymore?" Which would be a super cool thing to say if you got away with it, but you're literally in court heading to jail and all that money you made is gone, so maybe take it down a notch. Prosecutors are looking into giving Barrett extra time for holding up court proceedings, saying the trial has been very taxing. And with that, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Matt Finney.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. As always, you can get 25% off at rangerup.com when you use the code BNN, and you absolutely should check out our new Halloween collection because it is rad. You can also check out Nick and Matt at OnlyFans. We'll probably post something else at some point sometime soon. Take care.